Good morning, everybody. Kuru Paul here. Today I have another one of those boring step-by-step instructional videos planned. This one is for people who need to renew their temporary resident card, but are not yet transitioning to permanent residency. I get a lot of questions about how to do this, so I decided to do a video. In spite of the fact that these step-by-step instructional videos actually cost me subscribers. I guess they just want every video to be entertaining.
Are you not entertained?
Before I get into how to do this on your own, I'm going to tell you that my general recommendation is to hire someone to do all of this for you. And then all you have to do is just sign, pay, and show up and get your new card. One of the reasons I recommend hiring somebody is because it is not uncommon for individual I&M offices to create some in-house requirements or procedures that are not on the official list that I'm going to be covering today. For you folks who are going to ignore the advice that I just gave you and try this thing on your own because, I don't know, maybe you like to make your life more arduous, you're trying to punish yourself, or maybe you're just trying to save a buck. Anyway, I've got your back. I'm going to be going step by step through the process to renew your temporary residency. In order to get this done, you will need to have a computer with access to a printer and a way to make copies. So the first thing you want to do is go to the URL that appears on the screen. You can also find a link to it in the description portion of the video and on the first line of the comments section on YouTube. We're going to get this little warning out of the way. Come down here on the left and click on Trámites Migratorios. Now what this page is links to different procedures and forms that you need to get different things done at I&M. We're going to scroll down and come to this one that says Expedición de Documento Migratorio por Renovación. Click on that. And you'll be brought to this page. Now this page is going to be telling you what kind of things you're going to need. It's broken down into sections like requirements, etc. There's a lot of good information here, including links to the forms you're going to need to fill out. Now, if you don't speak Spanish, this is not particularly useful, so it may be helpful to translate it. If you don't know how to do that, I'm using Google Chrome. One of the things I like about Chrome is that it often asks you if you'd like to translate a particular page. You can find that option up on the top by the bar. So I can easily click a button, change it to English, and that makes it easier. Now, if you're going through the requirements, it's fine to translate the page to read them. But I wouldn't recommend using the translation feature when you actually fill out the form because some things come out very awkward. So for the purposes of showing you requirements, I'm going to be showing you the English, but when we actually fill out forms, I'll only be doing it in the Spanish. If you don't have a translation feature on your browser, don't worry. I've got another solution for you. Open up a new tab and go to Google. Just type the word translate, and the first thing you're going to see on your list is Google Translate. So go to that. Go back to your first tab, highlight it, copy, and paste it into the first box. Over here on the right, you're going to see a URL. Click on that, and boom, Google has translated the page for you. Now, the first thing we're going to be doing is filling out the application over here. On the left, there's a link to it. It says Solicitud. That part is not translated because that's a picture file. This is important. In the case of minors under 18 years of age, the application form must be signed by the mother, father, or whoever exercises parental authority, guardianship, or curatorship. Okay. Now, again, we're going to go to filling this out, so I'm going to change it back into Spanish. We're going to click on Solicitud to get this thing started, and you're going to be taken to this. Scroll down, and it's going to ask, what do you want to do? And we're going to choose Extender la estancia, to extend the stay. Down here we have to specify exactly what we want to do, and this is important. This is for folks who are renewing their temporary residency and not going from temporary residency to permanent residency. If that's your case, you're going to be choosing Expedición de Tarjeta de Residente por Renovación. We're going to scroll down here. So here, come down, and on the front of your immigration card, on the top right of the front, you'll see an NUE number. And if you have that, you can click here, fill that in along with your date of birth, and if you can get this code right, it'll fill in a lot of the fields for you. You'll just have to go through and make sure that they're still correct, still is correct address, everything else. I'm still going to go through all of the fields just in case you need to change something. The first box here is your CURP. It's not a mandatory field. And we get down here with your name or names. If your resident card has a first and last name on it, you're going to be putting both of them in this section. Next box is your last name or last names. If if you have more than one. Next one is sex. Hombre for man, mujer for woman. Down here is your date of birth. Now this is going to be day, month, year format. Your current nationality, and if you're from the United States, you want to choose estadounidense. Next box over is your current civil status, and you have married, divorce, single, open union, or a widow or widower. We're going to go down here to place of birth. First box is country of birth. If you're from the United States, look for Estados Unidos. Hopefully you know that. You should know enough Spanish to at least know where you're from. Next box is the state, province, or department, depending which country you chose. Come down here and you have the passport or other document that's going to identify the foreigner. The passport is the preferred document here, so I recommend clicking on that. Next box over is the document number. Next one is the country where the document was issued. On the bottom left, you have the date of issuance, again, day, month, year. And the date of expiration, day, month, year. The next section is your address in Mexico. And I'll tell you, this should match the address that they have on file, or they're going to ask you why you didn't notify INM. The regulations require you to notify INM within 90 days of any change of residence. So if it doesn't match, be prepared to say, hey, I moved within 90 days. First box is going to be your zip code. Again, your zip code in Mexico. Now, when you fill in the zip code, it should fill in the state, in this case, Quintana Roo, and the municipality should fill in. Tulum filled in for me. The next box is a mandatory field, colonia. It's not always instantly apparent which colonia you're in. If you're not sure, you might want to ask somebody. Exterior number, that's going to be like your house number, complex number, etc. And down here, this is not a mandatory field. This is your interior number. So let's say the exterior number would be for the entire complex, and maybe you have an apartment. That may be the interior number. It really depends how your address is listed. Next box is not a mandatory field, and these two boxes are together. It's for a landline telephone number. I usually just put my cell phone in. LADA is the area code, and the rest of the number goes in the next section. Next section is for your email, and you're going to have to verify it in the next box. This next section is if you've authorized someone to work on your behalf, send applications, or you want them to receive notifications about your application. If you're going through this yourself, chances are you didn't hire anybody, so we're not going to go through that section. But if you did want to add somebody, you just click down here on Agregar Persona. Down here you have comments if you want to leave anything. It's not usually necessary. And if you're happy with all this, you'll hit Guardar. Now you're going to scroll down a little bit more and hit C if the information is correct. If not, you can work on it again. And there you go. Little survey pops up. Now you should be prepared to either print this form now or at least save it as a PDF that you can print later. Scroll down, hit Imprimir ahora. You're going to end up with a document that consists of 3 pages. On the third page, you're going to find a section here that's going to need to be signed. In the first section here, lugar, that's place. That's going to be like if you're in Playa del Carmen, wherever you're at. Underneath, you're going to have the name of the foreigner. If you're filling this out for you, that'll be you. Over here on top, you have the date. And remember, dates are always going to be day, month, and year. And underneath, you're going to have the signature. Okay, so we're going to come back to this page where we were. I'm going to translate it back in English to give you a hand. Scroll down to requirements. And this is where you're going to find all of the requirements of different paperwork, copies, originals you're going to need to bring with you to the INM appointment. Not everybody's situation is going to be the same. You're going to have to kind of read through these. Now, some of this is a little confusing, especially when we put in English. So I'm going to go through it and talk to you a little bit about it. One of the things you're going to be bringing with you is going to be your old resident card, including a copy of it. Now that copy should be front and back and on the same piece of paper. They don't like when you give them 2 pieces of paper. Seriously. Next thing down is, this says basic format, which I know that's confusing. So let's switch it back into Spanish real quick. And we get Formato Basico. That still doesn't help, does it? What the Formato Basico is this form. And in the past, we had to fill it out and bring it with us. And some INM offices still want you to kind of fill this out and bring it with you anyway, even though the official Requirements say that it's going to be done electronically and in person at the office when you actually bring all this paperwork. That's why I recommend actually hiring someone to help you with this, especially if you have a more complex situation. But hey, for you do-it-yourselfers, let's keep going. The next thing on the list is going to be photographs. In the past, you had to get these done at a different office and then bring them with you. No longer. Immigration takes them at the time of your appointment. That one's pretty easy. Let's go to number 4, and this is a good example of why I don't like translation software. Proof that proves the payment of rights for the reception study and, where appropriate, the issuance of the immigration documents. Basically what this means is proof that you paid for the renewal of the document. I'm going to be talking about payment in the very next section. Section 5 talks about other documentation you may have to bring based on your particular circumstances. For example, if you obtained your residency because you got a job offer in Mexico, you're going to have to show proof that you're still working there. It's going to have to be on the employer's letterhead and indicate the period of employment in months or years. They're going to want the original of that. The next one down deals with students who have temporary residency. Section C is for those folks who obtained their residency because they're part of a family unit. They have an additional requirement that written under protest to tell the truth, stating that all the conditions under which the condition of stay was granted. Now, that's what's down here. See these little buttons here? Let's say that's your case. You would hit on written renewal for family bond, and you would have some additional sections to fill out. Section D is for those folks who got residency because of some type of a religious connection. And Section E is for folks who got residency because of some other special circumstance. In that case, if you just have a special circumstance, you're going to click on this last one here, and you're going to make sure you fill that out. And that's going to generate a form for you. Click down here on duty payment, and you're going to see what it costs to renew your resident card. Now, most folks are actually going to get a resident card for 1 year, and then they can renew after that. So you're going to have your temporary residency card for a maximum of 4 years. So if you came and you had 1 year, and you're coming up for that first renewal, you can choose to renew for 1, 2, or 3 years. Now down here you may notice permanent residency, and you might be thinking, I thought permanent residency does not expire. Well, it does expire if you're a minor. From birth through age 3, it'll need to be renewed every single year. And after age 3, it'll need to be renewed every 4 years until the person is 18 years of age. You have a couple of options how you want to pay for this. One of them is to pay directly at the I&M office. Now you can only do that with a debit or credit card, and it has to be Visa or MasterCard. And to be honest with you, that is the easiest thing to do. If that's not an option for you, it's going to get a little more complicated. You're going to have to generate a payment form by clicking on this link, Pago de Derecho. Take that payment form to a bank, pay, get proof of payment, and then include that with your packet that you bring to I&M. Now, filling out that payment form can be a little bit complicated, so I'm actually going to walk you through that in this video. For you folks who will be paying at I&M, you can go ahead and fast forward in the video to the next chapter. For you folks who are sticking around to learn how to fill out the form, click on Pago de Derecho. And this is going to generate a form for you that you're going to use to actually pay for your card. Right down here, it's going to ask what type of person you are. If you're an individual, it's going to be física. Moral is more of a business or entity. So física. First last name is a mandatory field. Second last name is not. Over here, you're going to put your names. Make sure that this name matches your other paperwork. Down here, if you have an RFC, that is an alphanumeric tax number used in Mexico. It is not a mandatory field. And over here, you have a CURP that you could put in if you have one, but it is not a mandatory field. Hit continuar. So we're going to come to this form, and right here we're going to have what are we doing. There's a lot of options here. You're going to click on Derecho de Residente Temporal. Down here, you're going to have to choose how many years. Now there are a lot of options here. It just depends how long you want to renew. So let's say you want to renew for 3 years. That would be down here. Then you would choose here por 3 años for 3 years and renovación. Come down here and what state you're in, and then you're going to choose the actual I&M office that you're going to. Hit continue. You're going to come to this page. You can scroll down and hit print. You make sure is all the data correct. You can accept or close. hit aceptar if you like everything. So this is the form that you could actually take to a bank to go ahead and pay I&M, and then you would get proof of payment. So now that you have all your paperwork together, including copies of everything you're going to need, because government offices do not like to make copies for you, you're going to need to bring all of this documentation down to the I&M office. This is where some of those inconsistencies that I mentioned will come in. You see, some I&M offices take appointments, which is, I think, the way they should do it, while others have adopted more of a first-come, first-serve approach to handling I&M applications. Now, that latter approach often requires folks to start lining up in the middle of the night if they hope to get in the next day. That's where that facilitator can come in handy. You see, they often have someone that they hire to stand in line all night for you, so you can just show up fresh as a daisy the next morning with your facilitator on your arm, take their place in line, and get everything done. But you do-it-yourselfers might find yourself standing out on that sidewalk in the middle of the night. I suggest bringing snacks and mosquito repellent. Because of these inconsistencies, you're going to have to check with the particular I&M office you plan on visiting to see how they handle things. Well, that's it for today. I know the material was very dry, but hopefully you found it useful. And until next time, hasta luego.